What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So I will be making schedule predictions for every single Power 5 team in college football for this upcoming season, and I will also do a subsequent conference standings video once I finish every team in a specific conference, just as a synopsis of all of my schedule predictions for that said conference. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the Florida Gators schedule predictions as I continue on in my SEC conference predictions overall. And just so some quick early thoughts on the Florida program heading into 2022. I think Napier is a very good hire who will eventually get Florida back into the mix in the East particularly. However, I just don't think that they're quite ready yet in year one under Napier for them to really compete for the East. And I think this could be a struggle year in some ways. And I think you're going to see flashes of really great stuff from them as a team, but I just don't think they're quite ready, like I said, to really compete for the division or the conference. I think Anthony Richardson at quarterback is the exact same way as what I just described the overall team as. I think you're going to see flashes of brilliance and greatness from him, but a lack of consistency and some moments where you're just left scratching your head wondering what he's doing. And so that's just some quick overview on initial thoughts I have about the Florida program heading into next year. Again, I think that Napier will be a good hire. I think that they're going to get things rolling in recruiting. You've already started to see some early evidence of that. I think they're going to be fine long term, but I think, like I said, next year, a little too early to see the fruits of their labor, so to speak, come into fruition just yet. So let's go ahead and dive into the schedule, starting with what I have as just guaranteed wins for Florida against teams that don't really have much hope of beating them. They have, no real shot, barring some sort of catastrophe. And for me, there's only two of those this year, and that is South Florida and Eastern Washington. Those two teams don't have much of a hope of beating Florida. They shouldn't really be in the same conversation with them. We're not going to spend time talking about them. And so let's go ahead and get into the first game of the season, and that is Utah. And getting Utah at home is a huge help in this game for Florida, but I ultimately don't think it's quite enough to get the win. I think Utah is a legit playoff contender. I think Florida will fight them very hard. I think it'll be very close with them all night. I think Florida may have a little bit more raw talent on the roster even. I just don't see them pulling off the upset here. I think Utah is very good. I have Utah winning in a decently close game. Utah, like I said, legitimate playoff level contender. There's no shame in losing in a close game to Utah to open up the season. Very excited to see how that game unfolds, though. And then the next game would be Kentucky, also at home for Florida. And Kentucky is, in my opinion, potentially the most underrated team in the SEC. They almost never get talked about, and yet they are consistently in that 10-win range under Mark Stoops. They have a great quarterback in Will Levis, who's getting first-round draft hype at this point. And they're just always a very good team. I think the next year they're going to be a little bit better than Florida. Just overall, I think they're going to have the better quarterback than Florida. And I have them getting a very hard-fought win on the road here. However, Florida has a great shot in this game, and it being at home is, like I said, a huge help for them. Absolutely could see Florida winning this game too. I just think Kentucky's just a little bit better than them, and that they're going to pull out the win here. So I've got Kentucky taking that one. Next game up is at Tennessee, and again, I think Tennessee's just a slightly better team than Florida next year, in my opinion. They're a little bit more talented. They have the better quarterback, in my opinion, as well. We know they're going to put up points in bunches, and with all the hype around the program, going at Tennessee is going to be really difficult. I think the fans are going to be going crazy in there. Getting any win at Tennessee for any team, regardless of how good, will not be an easy thing this season. So I have Tennessee getting a win here, which is kind of rough start to the season for Florida, but the schedule gets a little bit lighter as we move forward. And so then there is Missouri at home. Missouri is a decent team next year. They can't be taken lightly. I think Florida's just an overall better team than them, though. They're more talented. They have a better quarterback. They're at home. I think they're going to be a little bit better coached. I have Florida getting a win in this one, even though, like I said, it's not going to be an easy game. I think Missouri's going to fight them to the end for it, but Florida, I think, just a better team, and they're at home. They get the win there. And that leaves LSU next. And LSU's just such a tough team to get a read on next year. They have a lot of questions around the team, particularly at quarterback and on the coaching staff being brand new to the team, but the talent is definitely there for them. I have them in Florida pretty evenly matched across the board. I think LSU is just a little bit more talented at this point, but Florida has a much better quarterback, I think. So it's a really hard game for me to pick. I think it's going to be a great one next year. Very excited to see how it actually unfolds. Very interested in watching this game. I have Florida sneaking out with a win here, mainly just because they're at home. It's a huge benefit for them. This one really could go either way again. And LSU is a team that has the kind of ability to be a legit, 8, 9, 10 win level team in the SEC. They could also be a 5, 6 win team, though. I think if Florida gets the win here at home, very tough, hard-fought game, though. And then there's Georgia in Jacksonville. And Georgia's just a better team than Florida. Basically, across the board next year, They have far less coaching overturn. They have a lot less questions around the team. With it being the Georgia-Florida rivalry, it can always go either way. It's a very hard-fought, close game in Jacksonville. Basically, every time they play, I still think Georgia gets the win here. They're just the better team, like I said, top to bottom. They're a much tougher matchup than most anybody else that Florida will have seen at this point. I think Georgia, like I said, pulls out a win in a pretty close game, pretty hard fought. I don't think it's going to be an easy blowout or anything, but again, Georgia, just a much better team at this point. And then there's at Texas A&M, and that's, again, similar situation to the Georgia game. Texas A&M is just a better team top to bottom than Florida is. There really isn't any getting around that at this point. Napier hasn't had time to really build his culture in yet and get his recruits in yet. Add on that it's in College Station on the road. Difficulty just rises even more than the Jacksonville game against Georgia, I think. Florida does have an outside shot in this game. Again, I don't think it's going to be some horrible blowout. I still think A&M probably wins by 2 scores or more, though. And then there's South Carolina at home for Florida, and this game is going to be very close, very hard fought. Could go either way for sure. I'm very high on South Carolina next year, though. I think being in year 2 under Shane Beamer versus year 1 under Napier is really the biggest difference here. The quarterbacks are pretty even, in my opinion. I think South Carolina has some better weapons than Florida does at this point, to be honest. And like I said, year 2 under Shane Beamer versus year 1 under Billy Napier, I think that's the big difference there. Carolina sort of already has their culture rolling. They've got their guys in the program to some extent. I think South Carolina gets an upset win in this one in a very hard-fought close game, goes down to the wire. And again, Florida could very well win this game. Being at home makes this game much, much more winnable. If it was in Columbia and Williams-Brice, I would be much more confident in my South Carolina pick. I'm still going to go with South Carolina at this point. But again, very close game, I think. Game Florida could definitely win. I think South Carolina gets an upset there. And then there's at Vanderbilt. Florida's just a way better team than Vanderbilt by a wide margin. Honestly, I should have just included this game in the guaranteed wins. There's almost no way Vandy gets a win here. I have Florida dominating in this one, not much to talk about. And then they end the season at Florida State, and Florida State's a tough game next year because Florida State's just been getting a little bit better and a little bit better every single year recently. They have this game at home too, so it's a really tough game. However, I think Florida's just a better team than them overall, better team roster-wise. I think they're going to have a better quarterback. I've got Florida winning on the road to end the season in the rivalry game. Very close game, again, could go either way. I'm going to say Florida gets the win, though. And so that would make Florida 6-6 next year, which is pretty fair in my opinion. I mean, they could do even better with wins against teams like South Carolina and Kentucky, but I just don't think they're going to be able to pull those off, at least not both of them. Maybe they get one, but probably not both. But 6-6 in a new head coach's first year is not bad at all, especially considering how last season went for Florida. I mean, Kirby Smart had a very similar year to that in his first season at Georgia, and he was inheriting a much better situation, and Kirby Smart is proven to be one of the best coaches in the country already. So 6-6 in your first year at a SEC program is not bad at all, especially considering what Dan Mullen left Billy Napier to work with. So, like I said, I think Florida's going to be good long term. I think they're going to make a big jump in years 2 and then really in year 3 under Napier. I think year 1's just too early for them to really compete yet, but I think you're going to see those glimpses of what the program could be if you give Napier time to really build that thing. Anyway, though, that'll do it for this one. Let me know down below in the comment section where you agree with me, where you disagree with me on the Florida schedule in 2022. Tell me what record you guys think that they're going to have next year, who they will lose to, who they will beat, if they get some upsets, things like that. Also, if you made it this far in the video, be sure to go ahead and leave a like on the video because it helps out the channel tremendously. And subscribe to the channel as well for more college football content in the future. Like I said, I'm going to be making these schedule videos for every Power 5 team. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.